Hi friends, it's Walter Zemrock here with a project for Love from Lizi using the Fall Friends kit. And this is going to be a little different because I'm doing a mixed media project. And in order to create this, I'm going to be using this beautiful border die from the Love from Lizi Fall Friends kit. And what I did in advance is I die cut it several times using brushed copper cardstock. And I'm going to show you that even though this is a border die and it cuts out a border, I'm going to show you how we can cut this down to be able to use it in our project. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 strips and I have 2 bonus strips that aren't full size. And you'll understand why. These are just in case I need them, but we're going to be using that brushed copper cardstock. I'm going to be using the washi tape that has the houses on it. Going to be using this little square house here that I'm going to cut out. Going to be using, I love this particular piece. It's so good to be home. And from my own stash, this is just a whitewash plank. It's 12 inches by 5.5 inches. It's just a wooden sign from the dollar store. Really, I mean, most of the work is already done because it's even painted. So going to be using this as our canvas. So let's get started. So I'm going to start by getting these strips cut out. Now there's a couple of ways that I can do this. One way is with an X-Acto knife and a ruler and a cutting mat. And what you'll see is that the die leaves a little bit of space down the bottom that if you cut across, it's already cut here on that side. It's cut over here on this side. So if you cut it at the right place, it will cut that strip out for you. So that's the first thing I want to show you is how to cut one of these strips. And, you know, it's fairly easy. You just line up your ruler. And I am assuming, since I am meeting point to point, that this is a relatively straight line. It should be. If you want to ensure that it's like absolutely perfect, you could certainly like measure and mark and tape, but I can always cut more of these if I need. It's only paper. So making sure that I'm putting pressure onto my ruler and that I'm happy with the placement of it, which I am now, I'm going to go ahead and just take my X-Acto knife and come right down along the ruler. And when I get to the end, I am just going to pop that, and carefully, because I don't want to rip anything, it will separate right at that end, and you can just take that right off, just like that. Really quick and easy, and there you have your really pretty border. I think this is the easiest way to do it. You can also, when I weeded it, I left a piece in there. You can also align it on a paper cutter and cut the strip down. I personally find it easier and faster to do it this way. So I'm going to continue cutting these out, and we'll be back with you once I have all of them. Okay, so we have our border strips cut out. And I purposely cut one off just to show you that you don't have to throw this out if you cut a little too close. There's 2 things you can do. One, this is still staying together as one piece. So you can very easily just cut that and just put that on the border. It's not going to be that noticeable. So I wouldn't worry about it. The other thing you can do is go ahead and take your knife, and you can just carefully, by eye, come in and cut some of that other strip off, and that will be the same size. And when you glue it down, it's going to look perfect. So again, I just wanted to show you that sometimes little mishaps can happen. And if they do, all is not lost. You can probably save the particular strip. And if not, you can always cut a new one. But once that's glued down, no one's going to be any wiser that it's not absolutely perfect. So I wanted to note that. So there are the strips that we'll be using in the project. There's one additional item that I forgot to mention that I was going to be using, and that is some burlap. This is actually a burlap paper that I purchased on Amazon. They come in 8.5 by 11 sheets. And so this is completely optional. You may not want to use it on yours, but what I think, I love the look of burlap, especially when doing something kind of rustic. And so, you know, we can cut this down to fit onto the background of the sign, or you can use it without. So completely your call as to whether or not you want to use that. So I think I am going to use the burlap. I just think it'll be a fun look. I have a 1/2 inch on either side because this is 11, the sign is 12, and then here I only have a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to take another 1/4 inch off of that real quick. So I think, is that it? It was 5.5. And I had it at 5. So I think I'm going to bring it down to 4 3/4. And you can see that this cuts really nicely. And what's also nice about it is it has a plastic backing. I shouldn't say plastic. It has a film on the back of it. And so it helps it adhere down with, you can use the double-sided tape or glue. And it's nice because it keeps the fraying down to a minimum when cutting it. So it will end up looking like this. And now we have the same amount of space going around. I am going to do a 2-step process. I'm going to first put some double-sided tape right on the back. And what's nice about this is it bonds and we'll keep it there. I'm going to move the sign. But then also I'm going to, along with the double-sided tape, put some craft glue so that the two of them together will form a really nice bond. That should keep this down. Of course, you can brush on, use a brush to brush on your craft glue if you'd like. I'm going to end up using more tape than glue. So I'm just going to make sure that I have a lot of tape on there. Put that to the side. And so for the glue, as I mentioned, you can brush it on. I keep a bigger bottle for projects like this so I can, oh, the glue is a little tight. Let me grab a rag to help with the grip. Oh, that doesn't seem to want to open now, does it? We're going to have to edit that out. Let me make sure that that's nice and open. And I'm just going to put that glue right along the back. And this will also give you that little bit of wiggle room that just using the tape alone won't give you, of being able to move it if you're not happy with the placement when you initially put it down. So not only will it be a stronger hold, but it is it helps you at the beginning with getting it centered and placed. So with that said, I'll move the sign back, grab the ends of this, and if you notice any tape that could be sticking over an end, you can very easily just bend it over and place it onto the back. There, so now we're just going to center this. And I'm eyeballing it. You could certainly measure and mark and make everything perfect, but that's just not my style. There we do, is cut out. This is going to be kind of centered in the middle of that. So I want to get this piece trimmed out. And obviously, lengthwise, it's going to be fine. But height-wise, we're going to have to trim it down because it's too big for that particular piece. And we know that that height is 5.5 inches. So first, I'm just going to line it up and cut that end off. And now this is at 6. So I'm going to take, of course, I want it to fit within there, which was 4 3/4, and I want it a little bit less than that. So I'm going to want it down to about 4.5 to 4 1/4. I think I'm going to actually go 4 1/4 for it. So obviously you can't just take it off of one side. So I'm just going to start making a cut. And I'm going to bring that to 5 1/4. See how that looks. And if I brought that down to 4 1/4, that would look good because that will give me, yep, eyeballing it, I think that looks fine. I'm going to save those strips for now because you don't know when they might come in handy. What I want to do is use some of this washi border that has the really cute houses on it, and I'm going to run it around our sign here. It's going to go in the center. So I'm going to get that open. I should use tweezers because that is, my nails are not long enough. Okay, so I'm going to be careful not to rip it. And I'm going to place it and align it onto this corner up here to start. And I just want it aligned with the corner and coming down aligned on this side. So actually, let me go this way. Might be a better way to see it. There we go. That made it easier. Bring that down. And once that's in place, we can go ahead and trim. Flush with the piece of paper. Perfect. I'm now going to do the same over on this side. And I want the houses facing in. That's just my preference. You could have it, facing any way you'd like, but I'm going to have them facing in. So I'm going to start down in this opposite corner to get that There we go, laid down. And then bring that across, aligning flush with that side. Perfect. And cut that piece. Great. Now I'm going to do the bottom. And for this, I can have the homes sticking up or have them coming this way. I think I'll have them coming this way. So I'm going to align with where this strip of washi ends and that bottom side. There we go. And I'm not quite flush there, so let me get that flush. There we go, so that will go across nicely. Over to where it will meet up with this one. I'm not going to press it down just yet because I want to cut it first. Once I'm happy with where it's going to be actually, I am going to press it down to keep it aligned with that bottom side of the paper. There we go. And we're going to cut that right where that other strip ends, and I can feel it with the scissors, so I just cut right there. And before sticking it down, if you find that you have a little overlap, you can just come in and trim. Perfect. That looks good. Now the top. And essentially we're doing the same thing. I am going to cut that to be more flush because we have that little bit of excess there. There we go. And I'm just going to align it over here on this side. There we go. And I just want to keep it flush with the top there. I absolutely love this washi tape. This is totally my jam, if you will. Okay, and I'm just going to come and snip. Great. So we have our washi around there. Once that's done, I'm just going to come in and, add some pressure to make sure that it's all stuck down. And before doing anything else, I am going to add just a touch of aging onto here. It doesn't have to be a lot, but especially around the edges, I'm just going to come in and just lightly do. And this is optional, you don't have to do this. And honestly, if you didn't want to do vintage and you wanted to add a little bit of color to this, you could use a light, pink, purple, whatever you'd like. Make it your own. There we go. And then I'm going to take my tea dye, and similar to what I did with the sign, I am just going to scrape it along the edge to give it a little bit of color, a little bit of wear and tear and age. You can put as little or as much as you'd like. You could skip this step. You could do it in black. You could outline this in black since there's black and white in it, and that would look really nice too. And if you have anything that comes up like that, that's perfect. I love it. What you can always do is just take your brush and come back in and just blend in a bit, And so now I'm going to want to place that down. I'm going to do the same thing that I did for the burlap, and I'm going to use a combination of the double-sided tape and some craft glue. I'll be the first one to admit that I kind of have a heavy hand when it comes to that, to tape and glue, but I like to make sure it's gonna have a nice amount to keep it in place. Something else you could do is, if you really wanted to, you could, once you have this in place, you could add a coat of Mod Podge over it, if you so desire. Okay, now I'm just going to come in and let it come down like this, just to get some coverage with the glue. There. And of course, when you pick it up, if you want to make sure that you have it going the right way, oops, before adhering it down. So let's make sure we have it the right way. Then I'm just going to eyeball it and see where it about looks centered. Is start to get this in place. And for that, I want a more fine tip. So I'm going to use my glue press to get the glue on. Before doing it though, be sure to check to make sure that all of your little pieces are popped out, because it's easier to fix now than when you have it laid down. This one we're going to end up cutting anyways, so let's see where we're going to cut. Actually, I'm going to come out to have it touching the side, and it looks like a good natural place to cut. We'll have that flower there. Will be at the leaves. So we're going to cut off this little cog at the end, and the leaves will be our final piece for the border on this side. Now I'm just going to get some glue on there. You could use tweezers. I just use my hands, quite honestly. You know, a little bit of glue, I can just rub my hands or my fingers together. I can take a break and go wash my hands. The glue's not going to harm me. So I find it easier to be able to hold it when getting this on there, but whatever works for you. And I'm only going to show you this one to illustrate how to get the border on. I'm not going to show the whole thing. I don't think you'd enjoy watching me do this several times. You'll get the gist of it. You know, going around this tendril like this, you're just going to want to make sure that it doesn't have to be completely covered. Just getting even dabs of glue will be fine. Then I'm going to come down to that piece of the at the bottom. Make sure that I'm getting some glue onto there. Put my glue press down. And when I'm ready to lay it down, keep in mind that you have some wiggle room with since we're using glue, and I had mentioned that I want the leaves to be touching the side, so that helps give us a guide for where to lay it. And we're going to let that end that's kind of flapping up be one of the last things that we deal with, because we want to make sure that we're happy with the placement above that first. And so it's just pressing it down. Once you're happy, you're going to get this end. If it's a normal end, you don't have to worry about this. But again, I wanted to show you the problem child of what it would look like if it wasn't a perfect cut like some of the others. And then you just line it up as close to that as you can and press. Don't worry about glue getting onto that paper, because once the glue is dry, you can very easily run a cloth over it and get that glue to go away. What you can also do is grab such a rag or something now and use it to press to make sure that you're getting a good press down on there. There. Once it's dry, I will go over again to get any of that glue off. And it looks like we just need to make a little snip right there. So get your scissors as flush as you can and snip that off. So now I'm going to get the other pieces of the border in place. I'm going to cut out the little house that I want to use in here. And it matches right in with the houses that are in the that are on the washi tape. And so you can use your paper cutter, or you can just come in and freehand cut as I'm doing. I'm not going to pretend that I am an expert at freehand cutting. I think I do an okay job. So if you know it's not something that you are extremely good at, you might want to use a paper cutter. But whatever works for you. And again, we're not going for absolute perfection here. Just the best we can do. That's all we can do. There, that looks good. Put that to the side. Now, my thought on this is I want to add it in here with just a little bit of some foam tape on the back, but you guessed it, I am going to distress it a bit, add a little grunge, going for that age. And you can either leave it like this, and what's nice is when you do add that grunge on, you can kind of see where you can trim up a bit to make it a straighter cut, which is good. So you can leave it like this. If you really want to go with an older, more vintage look, there is the distressing tools that, will do that, but I simply just run a plastic knife along the edge. As you can see, it distresses that. And I'm not going for a really big, like, frayed look here. I'm just looking for a distressed edge. You can also do this, and that will add some, like, little dimples in. Again, just making it look like it's a bit older. Maybe humidity's been curling that a bit or something, It's aging. You don't have to do this at all, though. Really depends on you. If you wanted to, you could put this onto a piece of cardstock or paper. You could run ribbon around the edges. You could run some of, like, the washi tape that came in the kit, one of the other washi tapes, around the edges. I don't think I'd do the houses since that's already used there, but you could. You certainly could. You could put it onto a piece of black cardstock and have just a natural black border going around, like cut it just a little bit bigger than this piece is and then paste it down centering it. You could do that. There's, it depends on what your style is. And so before putting that down onto there, I do want to finish distressing those edges. Then I'm going to take my tea dye ink and I'm just going to run it around to get a little color on those edges. And if you want to, a little tip that I have when you're doing this is if you really want to add some age, what you can do, which I think is a really nice look, is you can also take the ink pad and just run it down that bottom, and sometimes it comes up a bit like that. And I think that's a really pretty look too. I personally love that. So I do that sometimes just to add some additional age and grunge onto it. So with that done, I'm actually going to take just a tad more. And it doesn't have to be on the whole thing, wherever you want to add it. And then now that looks so pretty, and then it coordinates the copper in with it even more. So I am going to get some double-sided tape there. Honestly, flipping it over and seeing that pattern on the other side, that would look really nice too, because that's such a nice classic pattern. Really, the possibilities are whatever whatever you can think of. So I got my tape on there. Now I'm just going to take some glue. Oh, my pen has some glue on there and it's getting stuck, so get that off, and then just make sure that my fine tip nozzle isn't clogged. There we go. There. Now I'm just going to put some glue. Perfect. Put my glue away. And I had mentioned double-sided tape, but since I am adding this, the foam tape, but since I'm adding it onto the copper, I want it directly on the copper, as is. So I'm just going to get that on there. And with the glue, I can move it around, but that looks good. I'm happy with that. And what you can do is just use your thumb to push those edges that you frayed and distressed in if you'd like. There we go. So that looks good. Now is the decision, do we want to put that on foam tape and have that be elevated? I think the answer is yes, personally. I think I like that more than it just being down like that. So I am going to grab some foam tape, our first project with the Fall Friends kit. And I think it's a really, really pretty piece of home decor, a mixed media piece. It's so good to be home. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think, what you would maybe do different. Or if you end up making one, please tag me. I would love to see your creations. So thanks for spending this time here with me, and I'll be seeing you real soon with another video. Bye for now.